The Velthari forest did not forgive weakness. Every creature that lived beneath its crimson canopy knew this truth, from the smallest spore moth to the ancient razor-fang beasts that patrolled its roots like living earthquakes. The forest was a proving ground, a cemetery, and a throne room all at once. Only the strong were permitted to breathe its poison-sweet air and walk away. Ethan Cross was not supposed to be here. He was 17 years old, 5'10", with dirt under his fingernails and a second-hand survival pack on his back. He was part of the United Earth Diplomatic Liaison Corps, the lowest tier, the errand runners, the ones who carried equipment crates between the human encampment and the Velthari outpost 3 kilometers north. Not a soldier. Not a warrior. Just a boy with strong legs and a stubborn streak who had volunteered because the pay was good and because, honestly, the alien world of Vethra was incredible and he wanted to see it. He had not expected to see this. The girl was pinned against a massive root arch, her back to the bark, her violet eyes wide with a terror that translated across every species boundary Ethan had ever encountered. She was Velthari, tall and thin-limbed by human standards, with bioluminescent skin that had gone pale with fear, her twin crests flattened against her skull in the universal signal of a creature that knows it is about to die. The beast between them and safety was called a Garath. Ethan had heard about Garaths. Every human in the encampment had been briefed. 12 feet at the shoulder. Armored hide that deflected standard pulse rounds. For crushing jaws arranged in a radial pattern, each one capable of snapping a Velthari warrior's leg like a dry twig. They were territorial ambush predators, and they almost never attacked near the outpost boundaries. Almost. This one had apparently not read the briefing. It was circling the girl slowly, the way cats circled wounded birds, not hungry, exactly, but interested. Playing. The worst kind of predator behavior. Ethan's brain did the math in about half a second. He had a survival pack, a utility knife, a signal flare, and approximately 0 combat training. The Garath had, for jaws, armored hide, and probably 400 kilograms of pure murder. The rational outcome was obvious. Back away slowly. Activate the emergency beacon. Wait for actual warriors to handle this. Ethan Cross was not always rational. He dropped his pack, grabbed the signal flare in one hand, pulled the utility knife with the other, and ran toward the Garath screaming at the top of his lungs. Part 2: What Humans Do. The Garath turned. It had been expecting prey behavior, freezing, fleeing, cowering. Every creature in the Velthari forest operated on the same fundamental biological script: when outmatched, submit or run. What it got instead was a screaming human boy throwing himself between it and the girl, arms spread wide, making himself look as large as possible, flare hissing hot white light directly into its primary sensory cluster. The Garath recoiled. Not in fear, it was too large for that, but in confusion. Its 4 jaws worked open and closed. Its sensory clusters burned from the flare. The noise the human was making didn't match any prey signal in its ancient predatory memory. Ethan pressed the advantage, which was the only advantage he had. He screamed louder. He waved the flare in wide arcs. He threw his pack at the beast's face, which bounced off harmlessly, but the motion itself, the sheer aggression of a creature 1/8 its size attacking forward, made the Garath step back again. Run, he screamed at the girl. Run. She ran. The Garath, its confusion curdling into anger, swung one massive forelimb. Ethan didn't dodge fast enough. The impact caught him across the left shoulder and ribs, and the world went sideways. He hit the root arch hard, breath blasted from his lungs, the flare spinning away into the undergrowth. He tasted copper. His left arm wasn't working properly. He could hear the Garath turning, resetting, preparing to close the distance properly this time. Ethan Cross pressed his back against the root arch and thought, well, that was stupid. Then the tree above him exploded. Part 3: The Warlord. Warlord Kale Zervera descended from the canopy the way a natural disaster descends, without announcement, without mercy, without any concept that the laws of physics should apply to something moving that fast. He was enormous even by Velthari standards, built like a siege engine wrapped in ceremonial combat leather, his crests fully raised and blazing electric gold with battle fury. He carried no weapon Ethan could identify. He didn't seem to need one. The Garath, the same Garath that had just casually swatted a human boy through the air, took one look at Kale Zervera and ran. The Warlord let it go. His daughter, Lara, was already beside him, one hand pressing her forehead to his shoulder in the Velthari gesture of gratitude and relief. She was speaking rapidly in a dialect too fast for Ethan's translator chip to parse, but the tone was unmistakable. Kael'zer looked at his daughter for a long moment. Then he turned and looked at the human boy sitting against the root arch, holding his ribs, bleeding from a scalp cut, and somehow still gripping a utility knife in his right hand. The Warlord's crests shifted. He crossed the distance in 3 steps and crouched down, a thing that must have cost him something, physically, to lower himself to eye level with a creature so much smaller, and studied Ethan cross the way generals study maps. Ethan, because he was 17 and slightly concussed, said, "Is she okay?" Kael'zer blinked both sets of eyelids. "You are injured," the Warlord said. His translator rendered it in a voice like grinding stone. "You are small. You had no weapon capable of harming a Garath." A pause. "You attacked it anyway." "It was going to hurt her," Ethan said, as if this explained everything. Because to him, it did. Kale Zervera was silent for a very long time. Part 4. What was granted? The human encampment medics cleared Ethan of anything life-threatening, 2 cracked ribs, a partially dislocated shoulder, and a scalp laceration that looked dramatic but wasn't. He spent 3 days in the medical tent, eating reconstituted protein and reading old novels on his datapad, and tried not to think too hard about what had happened. On the 4th day, Kale Zervera came to the encampment. He did not send an aide. He did not transmit a message. The warlord of the Velthari northern clans walked through the front perimeter of a human diplomatic outpost personally, flanked by 6 honor guards, and asked to be taken to Ethan Cross. The medic tent went very quiet. Kael'zer stood at the foot of Ethan's cot. He was carrying something, a long case of dark organic material, carved with patterns that Ethan vaguely recognized as old Velthari ceremonial script. "In our tradition," Kael'zer said, "when a warrior saves the life of a warlord's bloodkin, a debt is created. This debt cannot be left unbalanced." His crests were level, formal, ceremonial. "I have considered what form this balancing should take." He set the case on the cot beside Ethan. Inside was a blade, curved, single-edged, made from some alloy that seemed to absorb light around its edges. Old. Profoundly, obviously old. The hilt was wrapped in leather from something Ethan couldn't name. "My grandfather carried this," Kael'zer said. "His grandfather before him. It is a blade of standing. It marks its carrier as one who has earned the acknowledgement of Clan Vera. A beat. No non-Velthari has ever been granted one." Ethan stared at the blade. Then at the warlord. "You don't owe me anything," Ethan said. She was scared. "I didn't think about it." "I know," Kael'zer said. "That is precisely why I am here." He straightened to his full height, crests fully raised, not in aggression, but in the Velthari posture of formal recognition. "You did not calculate the odds. You did not assess your survival probability. You saw a child in danger and you moved." Something shifted in Kael'zer's expression, not quite emotion as Ethan understood it, but something vast and considered. "I have commanded warriors for 30 years. I have met brave soldiers and skilled killers and cunning tacticians. I have met very few who possess what you demonstrated in that forest." "What's that?" Ethan asked. "Instinctive courage," the warlord said. "The kind that does not require permission from the mind." He looked at the blade. "My daughter tells me you screamed at a Garath. That you threw things at it." That you made yourself large and loud and completely unreasonable. His crests shifted in what Ethan would later learn was the Velthari equivalent of a smile. My warriors laughed when she told them. Then they were quiet for a long time. Ethan picked up the blade carefully. It was heavier than it looked, and warm, as if it had been recently carried. The blade grants you formal guest standing in any Velthari territory, Kael'zar continued. My warriors will know you. My clans will know you. He paused. And Ethan Cross, if you ever require a warlord's sword at your back, you need only send word. He turned to leave. Warlord, Ethan said. Kael'zar looked back. Thank you. For coming yourself. Ethan held the blade carefully. That meant something. The warlord regarded him for a moment. His crests rose slightly, gold at the edges, warm. Humans, Kael'zar Vera said quietly, are going to be very interesting neighbors. He walked out of the tent, his honor guards falling in behind him, and left Ethan Cross sitting with an ancient alien blade across his knees and the particular, quiet satisfaction of someone who had done the right thing without ever stopping to ask if it was wise. Outside, the Velthari forest breathed its poison-sweet air over both their worlds. And somewhere in its red canopy, a Garath remembered the sound of a screaming human boy and, if Garaths were capable of such things, shuddered.